What is up, everybody? This is Dan Maxey, EXPI Realty, aka the Trading Agent, and this is your live market recap. I'm gonna give people a few minutes to kind of stream in. I'm gonna snack on some of my favorite almonds, and yeah, ask some questions if you want. Let's get into it. This is gonna be pretty interesting. A lot of people are seem pretty emotional, and that's the times when things are about to make moves. There's a lot going on with OPEX. I want to talk about it. I'm gonna hit start now. If you're watching this after the fact, go to the about 6:30 spot. Can I get a mic check? 1, 2. Anybody here? Awesome. Can you hear me crunching? Sneaky little 10 minutes. Sneaky little 10 minutes. Squeeze. One candle eats it all up. Yum. Watching the hourly, a lot of people are like, why are you bullish? I'm like, why would I not be? Check this out, y'all. Get out of here, 10 minutes. So if this is the capitulation bottom, we're coming in and just holding the lows from the capitulation bottom. Now I know we made a slightly lower low, and that's where it was like, ugh, this feels very capitulatory intraday for OPEX. People are like, oh, you just keep buying the dips, you're an idiot. All right, whatever, it's fine. Not surprised OPEX played this little game. Yeah, anyway, expecting to squeeze into the close. I mean, if you look at the chart for what it is, I see higher highs and higher lows. If this is another low, another higher low, which should follow? A higher high. Keeping it simple. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Let's keep this going into the close. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. A lot of people, I don't think, understand OPEX, and I can get into that. I mean, when the market is down into earnings and OPEX, I mean, all it takes is a few CEOs to say, things aren't that bad, or, you know, whatever. Earnings is meant to be cheerleaded. That's all they're, think about it. Everyone in the board, CEO, they get paid in stock performance. Not the time for them to be like, oh, we suck. The economy's the worst. Nah. It's not what they do. Good afternoon to all, though. I appreciate the follows, support, love. I mean, hopefully someone else is making money off of these SPY trades we talked about. Hopefully that oil trade, you got in around 68. We'll talk about nat gas because I think it's about to get interesting. Because I don't see oil leaving gas in the dust. Again, if the market's going to rise, I've said this over and over and over, I believe commodities are going to lead up at some point to put the feds in the pickle to have to do what? Raise rates later. Can y'all see this building? I'm the hourly. Can you see it? Can you see it? Come to me. What do we call this down here, right? What do we call that on the hourly? Huh. Scott, that usually happens at inflection points. Because if people know natural gas or oil, whatever's going higher, and the price of the commodity is coming down near term, that's why it's always awesome to see the service names lead. That's one of the things, like, one of the tells I've always had with gold and gold miners is, like, miners lead gold. Well, miners aren't acting good. I don't really want to play with them. Come on. That 367 buy ain't looking too bad now. You got bear trap. Higher highs, higher lows. We will talk about all of it. mean, we talked about Netflix, just buying a little bit into the close. I don't know about Tesla. If y'all saw Elon's quote, "I'll take care of you," or "you can trust me," or whatever, and everyone's anticipating a buyback, doesn't sound very optimistic. That's just my guess. Any questions before we get started? Comments, concerns, thoughts, jokes? Trading is hard. Tesla guidance? I don't know. When you look at the stock, it held 200. Could it pop up another $20, $30? Yeah. What do you mean they banned gambling in Africa? Oh. Good one. Got me good. You eating Fritos? Nah, man, I'm eating almonds. I'm not a kid. Alright, let me put these away. Eating Fritos. You eating Fritos? Alright. Close that up. Start recording. This is Dan Max at EXPI Realty, aka the Trading Agent. This is your daily market recap for Wednesday, October 19th, 2022. Awesome day. If you bought the dip, trading around it, wanted to start out with a few things just to kind of jump into it. We talked about buying the dip today on the action. Not surprised. Bear trap. Another one. Holding points of control. Now I know people are like, oh, it's lower. Well, let's redraw it to this. Because that high volume high, y'all remember this. If you're newer, pay attention. High volume highs, high volume lows, love to retest. Got pretty damn close. Good enough for government work. We can all agree. Got there. I mean, you can see it's in here. People are like, oh, you know, trying to nail the exact price. That's always going to be hard, right? That's always going to be hard with emotion because we don't know who's got a unleverage, puke, whatever you want to call it. So on that note, just wanted to update people because I know that a few people in the Discord room are always listening and are like, what are you doing, Dan? What are you doing? Well, here you go. Here you go. Congratulations to Rory, who had puts and then pivoted at the lows. Love it. Love the ability to pivot. Because it means you're not married to your ideas. If you know what's going on, what do? You pivot. I mean, it's not rocket science. So, yeah, again, if you are newer to the channel and you want to get in the Discord room, it's open. I'd like to talk to people first about what brings them to this room, what they're looking for. One of those things where when the student is ready, a teacher appears. I love teaching and helping people, but I love people who want to be taught. Think about it. All right, so OPEX. If you're familiar or not, there's a video on it. Please check it out. It's in the on the YouTube channel. OPEX going into earnings, dangerous situation for bears if you are down, because the VIX is elevated usually. And also, too, if the market is down, the CEOs, board members, whatever, whoever's going to be talking, they want to pump. And think of Vanderpump, like pump it, right? Like they get paid in their performance on stock performance. You have to think in your mind, like, if you give them a microphone, what were they going to say? What would I say? What are you going to say if you own, for example, your Elon freaking Musk? What are you going to say at the earnings call today after the stock is down 50% off the highs? You going to badmouth it? Say, we suck. We can't make money. No. So OPEX, CHOPEX, we got tons of puts outstanding that need to expire this week. You have bears all in short. You have the world ending. You have people freaking out. And what do we notice about the hourly, right? We had our capitulation. Every reason, I mean, you gotta love like tightening action. And now what? You pull back. Pull back to the major point of inflection. I mean, they pulled it to the extreme. Here you go. People are like, why are you buying the dip? Well, I mean, you seem pretty cavalier about it, Dan. You were buying at 358 and 368, and you were buying it at 366. And yeah, I mean, again, if I think the trend is in my favor, have no ego. I mean, I'll stop out if needed. You guys know that we stopped out at oil right before it went higher. Is what it is. So, any questions, thoughts, concerns about stocks as we're talking about them, please interrupt. I don't mind if it's involved with what we're talking about. If not, just be careful. I'm telling you right now, if you are a bear, you want the market to pop. You want commodities to rise because then it's going to put the Feds in a position to do what? What? They're going to have to raise rates even more because the market is priced in whatever you think is going to happen in November. Whatever you think is going to happen in November is priced in. Keep that in mind. What typically has happened before the Fed meetings too? The Fed's gonna pivot rumors start growing, right? The whole like, oh, they're not gonna do so much, and they're gonna take. No, we all know it's bull crap. We've seen it multiple times, so be aware. Let's get into some of our favorite sectors. I mean, things we talk about. I apologize every day I talk about Bitcoin. It's dead. Dead means you don't short it. Dead means you can leave it alone. When it breaks prices, then you'll get excited about it. If not, you might be holding nothing. Meaning nothing, like no action. Nat gas. Okay. Talked about having to hold up in the mid-sixes. If you stopped out, you did the right thing. Again, being able to pivot. Now, if you think you're always going to be right and you're following people who are like banging the drum of, we are always right. Look at me. No. We stopped out. This area around 6 or 545, I've set an alarm. If we get there, that to me, look at the high volume highs. Let me pull this up here. In lows, look at this. Do you not think there's going to be support at this price point? Now, after we broke this area, I'd had no clue. No clue. I mean, we gapped down on the ONG, I'm gone. Was hoping if it got back over, you get back in, right? Does that make sense how that works? Any questions about how that worked? Because I feel like there's a lot of people in the Discord room who may have just had in their mindset, oh, I gotta hold it because I think it's going higher and it's a lot off the highs. Well, members Livermore would say, just because something's going higher doesn't mean it can't go higher. You know, if it's a higher price doesn't mean it can't go higher. If it's low doesn't mean it can't go lower. Once this got broken, you had to assume you have to wait for it to get above it or just let it play out. Now that it's playing out, it's looking a lot more simple now. So if you want to eat Fritos and watch Nat Gas, I mean, I would hesitate to be early. Hesitate to be early. Oil, I mean, you guys know what we said. Watch the 82, 83 range. You started buying. Congratulations. I mean, it's the same kind of thing. You look for the support resistance. If it breaks, you sell first, ask questions later. You don't go, oh, why is it below it? No, that's not what you do. You got to err on the side of caution first, always. Again, we've been all over this. You sold UNG puts on. Oof. Oof. We'll see. Depends on what your time frame is, James. Oil. Talked about probably holds here. It did. Added 86. I mean, USO, I think was what? Sorry, let me pull. I'm like, it was 60, what, 8? 50 was the first entry, got stopped out, went a little lower, added at 68, and then today when it pulled back to 68.50s, we added. We mean me, I don't know, a few other people talked about it. Price caps, selling SPR, whatever. It ain't going to keep oil down. You need to produce more. You can't just pump it out of the SPR and be the plan. Okay? It's, again, if this is the theory and this is a head and shoulders bottom and oil is going to go higher and it's going to put the Feds into a absolute pickle, then this needs to go higher. USO, we'll get into it later, but somewhere in the mid-70s at worst. At worst. That would be my thoughts. Okay. Let's get into the dollar. What do we say today? What do we say? All right. It's popping. Watch it. Watch it. Do we make a higher low again? I don't know. Could it be penning out, tightening action, like lower highs, higher lows kind of thing? Potentially. Somebody said, hey, it's going to break out. Let's not get too excited yet until it does. Because if you want, you can You can draw the pennant. You can see it. Penitent man will pass. Penitent. Patient. You know what I mean? Watch this stuff. Sorry, I forgot that reference is from, was it Raiders of the Lost Ark? No. I can't remember which one it was. It was one of those movies. Sorry, it's like trying to focus and then talk about the jokes. But y'all know. I would keep an eye on it. We all know if the dollar goes screaming higher, the market's going to get, beaten. But at this point, it feels very logical, just like when you had in May and June, you had this choppy dollar action, right? And keep in mind, the dollar went slightly higher. Not Lord of the Rings, stop it. The dollar still went higher and the market went higher. This is where it gets interesting because watching Chinese stocks right now, money is leaving that area. Money is coming into the U.S. It's very clear. Now, again, are we just the best of the worst? I guess, maybe. Indiana Jones movies. Yeah, anyway, this is tough. This is tough because you got to watch the action. You absolutely have to watch the action and just go, okay, it's not pretty. The dollar, we've said this, or not dollar, bonds. Oh, man, why are we slow loading? This has just been one of those trades where once you got stopped out, I mean, I got stopped out here, it popped back out, and then I was like, I don't care. We go to the monthly, right? Now we're coming into some zones that matter. You can see it. I've seen it. But does that mean it bottoms today? No. So if you're looking at bonds and you're saying, I need to buy bonds, I'm going to tell you right now, patience. Absolutely have patience. Do not be one of these people who thinks that the bond market is going to absolutely rally quickly. And if it does, it's going to be on some sort of event. And that was not predictable. You know what I mean? Like, you can't bet on things you don't know. But I hope it happens if people are, again, because I think rates will spike lower at some point once the feds admit that capitulation, essentially. Like, you're going to need oil, gas, all these commodities rise. They're going to raise way too fast. They're going to project out way too strong. Again, I anticipate a recession next year. It's basically 100%. I mean, we're in a recession. Let's not lie about it. But I'm talking about like steepening recession. Then it gets ugly. That's what you're waiting for. And this is the thing. So this is why I talk about why I think the market rallies too. Is all of the bad news is priced in for the current rate meeting, current year. It's just how bad do things get? Right? How bad is the mistakes made by the administration to do SPR releases and do all of these like overreaction to, man, we're getting slow load today. Overreaction in the markets to try to like save the markets. I mean, that's what's going to hurt. That is what ultimately is going to hurt the absolute heck out of the stock market, right? It's going to make it worse, right? You don't whatever, you just release more oil to try to get price down. No, bad idea. Bad idea. No, you increase production to get oil prices down. Man, we are really slow loading today. SPY talked about the breakout of the 20-day being key. It comes back, test the 20-day. We talked about test the high volume high. Did not expect 365, but it happens. I mean, just said to myself, look for the dips. So far, so mediocre, okay. I mean, anticipation of what happens next. Do y'all see, like, this is pretty, like, again, if we're going to get up to 390, that's what I expect at some point. We got to shake out bears. Because it's the same action here. Chop down 80, choppy, pop up, then open the floodgates. Chop, action, then open the floodgates. VIX spike. Because remember, the VIX is not going to break out to new highs unless you get really sloppy capitulation action. Like, just scared, poopless. Any questions on this at this point? Any questions about the SPY? Because again, I mean, the Qs, they might have capitulated on the action lately. Let's see if we get some quicker loading. Man, this is driving me nuts. This is driving me nuts if we're going to be this slow, because I like to rapid fire through this stuff. Doji again. I personally think, again, the best action to trap, right, to trap is to go higher first. Not a bull long term, but to trap, right? That's what you need to see. IWM, come on, squeeze through there. Oh, you're going to kill me with these slow loads today. We have not had this. Okay, here you go. Back to the 20-day. Popped up pretty hard, pretty quickly. Still did not make lower lows. I mean, we talk about this stuff. Again, I don't know who's new and not. If you're new, say something and I can rehash this stuff. But we've said like the IWM leads. Didn't make new lows last week. Naturally, it pops, pulls back. Doesn't look that dangerous to me. Gold. I've said this and I say it over and over again. Please leave gold alone. Every freaking idiot out there pumping this stuff on social media. Again, buy physical. No one's going to argue that. The paper stuff, there's better trades out there. That's the hardest part, leaving those alone. This gap, filling this gap. I mean, I personally think it chops until it drops. There's going to be trades on it. I said this earlier. If you really wanted to buy gold, I guess you could here, near the lows. Silver acting better. We've said that makes sense. If the market's going to rise, silver is more of an industrial metal. Should hold. Looks better. I've said this a billion times too. If you want to buy gold, silver for the long run, wait for the blowout. I showed this on the monthly, like every other recast. When the Feds pivot, that's when you get the straight line moves. When you get the Feds pivot, that's when you get this stuff, purgatory. Leave it alone. GDX, I guess technically you're holding the 22, 23. If you want to play that, go right ahead. This homie, don't play that. No desire. No desire. You know what I mean? Homie, don't play that in living color. GDXJ, man, I don't like this gap, but if you hold this area, it could pop. Again, if you want to play it, I mean, I know certain people who just love to trade gold and miners, and I'm like, I used to be that guy. And then I realized when it's not ready, it's not ready. AG, I mean, somebody's talking about buying AG. It's like, no, it's not ready. Just let it play its games. Stop playing games with my heart. No, that's what gold miners are going to do. AEM, we talked about. This is the one. It's got volume at the lows. Just leave it alone. Newmont. Slow load. Nothing. Just, I don't know. Pass on it. Pass. And again, like think about these. And here's the thing that I think, please take note of this. Tax loss selling in the miners and gold will absolutely keep this stuff down to flat into the end of the year if these things cannot get any rallies. Because think about, like, they literally open, I mean, for example, this one, 22, and it closes at 15, tax loss selling. I would write this off and buy it back later. I mean, that's what they're going to do. Please be careful with that stuff, okay? If I see this, I see people post about it incessantly on the Discord room or on social media, and it's like, do you just stick to, do you stay with terrible people, or do your friends are the closest people to you, and if they're not growing, you just stay with them? No. The ability to pivot is a beautiful thing. AMD, it's at channel lows. Tech looks oversold. It probably bounces. Trade at your own risk. Nvidia, why are the mark so slow? I don't want to restart this. Channel lows. I mean, insiders unloading at the lows. Keep in mind they're idiots too. I mean, if you are an insider and you are just selling the stock now at $1.20, let me guess, you're probably buying at 300 too. I don't know which insider it was. If someone wants to double check it, but that is absolutely comedy to be selling down here. That means you either think it's going lower later, which you probably will. SMH. No, they usually, I agree. They definitely have to schedule their sales for quarterly around blackouts. Yes, absolutely. But to sell 10 million worth, I mean, that just seems like you need a new boat at that point. You're just like, I don't care. SMH, again, channel lows, bouncing, holding tight. We'll see. I mean, this is the thing. If you think the markets are going higher, which I do, they're going to pop. All right, let's talk about some of these other tech names, because this is interesting. Adobe, they came out. We talked about them. They had guided down. Oh, look at this chart. See it? So gray. It's so black and white. No. Come on. There you go. Gap down. Chop. Told you get a sold puts. Now they released their earnings, and what? It's holding up. Things that aren't bearish. Part 1700. Apple. Apple's news has been what? Man, this is slow. I'm just going to talk through the load. Everybody knows sales are slowing. Everybody knows iPhone 14 Plus, Pro, whatever, is junk. In the sense that it's not big, it's big of an upgrade. Everyone knows that. But look what's happening the last couple days. Opens at the lows, close at the high. Yesterday was wide and loose on that exact same news. If the market is bearish, think about looking what happened. Like, look at the daily, right? Like, look at this. It needs to take out the lows from yesterday. It's not doing that. You got to be careful. Again, that's not bearish to me. You got to be evidence-based. This isn't just me talking to talk, right? Like, you try to, like, build the evidence. Amazon, another prime day. At this point, they're going to overprime the market. Looks better. Did not take out the lows. Doji today looks just like the market. CRM, I think they got affected by Adobe. But look at this. It doesn't look that terrible again. I don't personally like it, but it doesn't look like it's about to blow off down. Come on, SPY. Rally into the close. That's what I want to see. Google, we talked about it being trash, but then Pelosi's exercise and calls. This is tough, but it's over the 20-day. To me, this is what I worry about stocks that are stuck. They're going to be in like these stuck holding patterns. They're going to be in these stuck holding patterns. I don't want to play these. Meta. If you know that reference. Meta. Crap. But could bounce. I mean, it's like all these names are spouting over here, Scott. Peloton, Shopify. Yeah, I mean, they're probably all, they're junk, but they could bounce. Trash floats. Trash floats. So at this point, watching Meta, I mean, you couldn't pay me to go along these stocks. I'm sorry. Just feel like you're playing with fire. Oh, come on, Microsoft. Mr. Softy. Why are my charts? I've never had my charts freeze once. This is awesome. And look at that. Okay, Microsoft held the 230s. Bouncing around. What do you expect? I would personally think at this point, it's at what? 235? I'm sorry. I mean, I just remember these charts without having to look at them. No, it's not crazy how unstoppable. No, dude. No, Scott. All the names are unstoppable, become stoppable at some point. 3D stocks got the thing. EV stocks got the thing. I mean, dude, it's momentum. Study the past, man. That's why I'm always like, you can't buy and hold forever. Only a few turn into the buy and hold forever. Most stocks are what? Buy, rise, and flop. When the bear market comes, toast. Toast. They're all toasted. That's why I'm always like, you got to be on red alert. Because when the bear market comes, all of your favorite names turn into trash. Oh, sorry, Microsoft. Sorry, Scott, but I mean, that's the thing, man. You got to study that stuff, bro. It's absolutely so obvious. Peloton, I mean, if they don't have an advantage, a competitive advantage long term, not going to sustain up. Yeah, Microsoft, talked about 230s, getting into it. They like when the dollar goes lower. These names are tough. I don't even know what to tell you. NDAQ had earnings. I just want to kick myself every day for not holding on to this short. Why are you slow to load? Thank you. This was the short. Gaps down on its earnings, chopping. I mean, again, I told you this is the Coinbase of the like when the Nasdaq volumes die up and nobody wants Apple, Tesla, Netflix. Yeah, Kramer's Fang. Do y'all remember the Four Horsemen? I mean, that was another one in 2000s. Kramer's Four Horsemen. I mean, these are the 4 stocks you have to buy every time. You got to. I mean, I remember. Oh man, what was the insurance company? Oh my God, AIG, Citigroup, all of those awesome stocks. Wells Fargo, Goldman, you gotta hold those. Sorry, MicroStrategy. Here you go. I mean, it doesn't look that bearish. Now again, it's kind of hanging out, which it's doing what it's gonna do. I mean, it's hard to be bearish this stock if if it doesn't take out the lows. Because you could argue this is a head and shoulders bottom, which probably takes it up to the 260s. 200 day? Question mark? Don't know. Why are these charts so... I've never had them freeze. Okay. Flicks. We talked about buying this into the close, right? Thoughts on pop? SPY calls for November versus December? No. October. No, man. I'm just... I'm not even going that far out. No. I don't trust that long dated. I don't want to hold calls that long. Netflix said we liked basing action. If we're going to really screw up the bears here, this thing was going to pop. This was going to pop. We talked about it. Hits the 200 day. Dan, did you sell any? Nope. Got a whopping 50 shares just to held through earnings. I think it goes higher to squeeze. I mean, that's the thing. If the market's going to go higher to really mess with bears, and again, this could be like a 1 or 2 week phenomena, could be a 1 month. The easy money is coming, and you have to trade through it, right? But I personally think, and you know, if you want to go out to November, go right ahead. I personally think that once you get certain highs, I don't think you're going to have more upside. So if we get to 390 sooner than later, I would play and think more about the chop top that we talked about. But it's back to Netflix. This is the kind of stuff that you expect to happen, right? Like out of position, down from 7 hundo, and it pops. You gotta convince bulls there's a bull market, right? There's a bull market coming, guys. No. Roadblocks. You know, we talked about this. It wasn't acting bearish. Please load. Thank you. Woohoo. Could this be a little left-right comp? Ooh, this could be a little island floating reversal. We'll see. I personally think if the market holds up, this thing could play games. In the games that it plays, is it a repeat of this pattern and fail? Or did they have one? Let's always look left. No, there wasn't another one of these. Well, maybe it's done. But this action off the low is a little scary for me to short. Personally, I would leave it alone. Tesla, here we go. Coming into earnings. Red alert. If I wanted to screw the bears and put people in a position to lose, what would the position be, right? It's not like the stock hasn't taken a bath. 415, 205, 207, whatever. Just pop it. I'm telling you. Again, even if it's just this. Even if it's just this. I'm telling y'all. That is, you want it. If you're a bear, you want it so badly. Because you have to think about, like, when you stretch things harder and there's not catalysts, it's not going to rip. It's going to rip right back. And look what, this action to me is great. Because if you think about a trend, right? Drops, then it chops out. Chops up, then falls. Think about this level. Bring in all of the bulls. Make this level seem like it can't be broken. Pop it, then what? Drop it. And then once it breaks, think about all these folks. Because these folks are all toast. You guys are busted. Anyone who bought this last year and early in the spring, you're wrong. Dead wrong. Drop it, pop it, then yes, it'll drop it like it's hot. And I'm telling you, people are like, oh, how are you going to think this thing's going to be a double-digit stock one day? I'm like, all right, go look at the monthly. Remember, we talked about one candle that ruined it all for bulls. They don't realize this. They're a bunch of idiots. Like, this candle convinced them to go bullish. Now it can't go higher. But here's the level. You see it. Like, just let this level play out. Because and then it becomes like a monster left shoulder, right shoulder, head. Once the shoulder line breaks, see you later. Does that make sense? I hope so. Again, I mean, you're projecting out what you want to happen. Yes, I am. It's a repeating pattern. Because if the shoulder lines fail and bounce around it, the longer you sit here, the bigger the move. It's the same thing with gold. Like, look at this. Sorry to like jump around. But do we not agree if I can get the charts to load? This is so frustrating. This big monster cup and handle, the longer we hang out in this handle, does what? Leads to higher prices. Think about it, because here's the bottom. Now you've shaken out people for as long as years, literally years. People give up and it just holds high and tight. Think if this was like an hourly chart, you'd be going, ooh, yeah, hell yeah. But since it's a monthly chart, you're like, no way. Biotech catching some volume. We're almost into biotech. Yeah, let's roll into bios. Let's get into bios. Oh, who'll be texting? If I can get it to load, I apologize. At the trend. Let's look at the 10-minute. I mean, don't be flopping me here. Okay. Yeah, XBI. Yeah, I mean, at the trend. Definitely volume picking up there. I mean, not amazingly great volume, but hey, that's stopping power. Let's call it what it is. I think you got something here. I mean, I drew the arrow versus a ray. We're at the trend. I mean, again, if you think the market's about to peel and like an onion, then this thing needs to break down. If the market is not, then you know what's going to happen here. It's playing this game. Who remembers this? I do. I remember the 100-day. I still remember Wild Warrior going, oh, bios are about to break down. I'm like, if it doesn't break the 100-day, it's about to go screaming higher. And all it took was 5 days to get up there. Well, here you go. If you can't break the lows, it should go higher. Right? Okay. Materials. Sorry, I'd cut into there because I agree. That was worth looking at. Appreciate it, Drew. X. God, this is so slow with this stupid loading. It looks fine. Higher lows, holding the 20-day. New core earnings are coming. Be careful. Remember, they guided down. But here's the irony, right? Here's the irony. Earnings are in the morning. Here's the guide down. You're literally right back up there. Doesn't look that... It seems like it's getting absorbed pretty damn good. VALE. I like this stock long term, but I don't think I want to play with it until it's done. Because again, it's got emerging market exposure. Just let it play out. Arrow. I said be careful of this. I mean... Channel high, and then it breaks down. Now, again, copper... People will be like, oh, that's bearish, yes. But up channeling technically isn't. You know, this is what can get so hard about the charts is that, I mean, it could just chop out as a rising market, and it wouldn't be technically really bullish or bearish. It would just be chop. CCJ, I mean, again, we said you got to get over, like, was it the 2250 area. You're back up and down and chop. I love it long term. Going vertically integrated, I think it's a great idea. But let's wait to really buy this one because I don't trust it. Now, again, I think commodities are going higher. The screams and yells for uranium will always be loudest as oil and gas rise. I just don't like these stocks. People are like, what do you don't like? I just don't like the way they act. I don't like the structures. I don't like how they just diluted their shareholders out the wazoo potentially. It's going to take time to play out. But we do like they're vertically integrated. We'll come back to them at some point. CF. This one is playing some games. If you can load. You see it's just the gray game. Long wicks hits the 50-day, backs off. Now people are saying, hey, this looks bearish. Can't argue that. However, I like this chart for buying longer names. Oh, it's too high. Stuff that's holding up is holding up for a reason. If the market dropped and is chopping and this thing is following the market, well, then it makes sense that it could be a holding pattern. Now, everyone knows the Mississippi is running dry. They're talking about not being able to move materials and might have higher shipping costs to put it in a truck and move it around the country, put it on a rail. We get it. I still like it because if this is a head and shoulders, the shoulder line can take out, like I said, left shoulder, head. The shoulder can take as long as it's going to take. And if the market is going to go higher, I think it will wake up. Mosaic. Thank you. Holding up pretty well, right? Doesn't look bearish. Keep in mind, look where it's gone. Just like this is the blow off top. Here's the channel. I still think you could at least get up into the 60s. If it goes. Now again, preface, if it goes. If the market goes higher, which I think it will. NTR, we started talking about this, like looking at it at 80. Here's the point of control, right? You can see it kind of reminds me of like Nat Gas. How you just look for this big zone and see if it holds it. Like there it is. It drops down into it. I'm hoping that gas drops down into its lower range. And it's going to pop. How high? Now, again, the market's going to help pull this higher if it goes higher. Does this clear? Clear is crystal clear. Crystal clear Pepsi. It should hold. If it holds, good. We did XBI, financials, XLF. Down a little today. Not surprised. Thing's been on fire. Yeah, you see it? Look at all that fire on the screen. Come on. Why? I should restart my charts, but it takes like so long to load and unload. Do y'all want me to do that? Okay. Gets into the point of control. Let me draw it over. Backing off. A lot of gaps here. Wicks. We'll see. Is that bearish your monitor? Is that red candle on anomaly on CF? Good question. I'll go back to it. Look at financials holding up. CF. I know which red candle you're talking about, Joe. Are you talking about the big down red one? This guy? Yeah. Like the volume doesn't line up with the actual candle size. Because here's the last candle that looked the same size. Right? And it had half of that. And that ended up being an anomaly, right? I mean, here you go. Another red candle at the lows. Great question, Joe, because I remember talking about this previously. Like, red candles at the lows that don't have huge volume lead to higher prices. We'll see. Morgan Stanley. It seems like direction we decide tomorrow. I think probably a bit of whatever. Yeah, people are talking about stuff. Holding up. Not taking out the lows. Not bearish. Keep an eye on it. JP Morgan, this piece of junk with no buyback. Jamie Dimon talking about market's dropping another 20%, and then look what his stock does. Oh, but you read the news. You read the news, didn't you? And it said the market's going lower. Okay. And then it pops. Oh, geez, I'm just beating this stuff up. Let me just remove this. Y'all see my point here? Doesn't look bearish. Now, again, that could be just... This is hard because look, you guys know like the W pattern. Well, look at this screamer. Awkward W. Sideways. That one's tough, man. But if it has every reason to drop and it's not, that's where you got to be like, First solar. EQ2. High of the day. Yay. Come on. Tight action. We talked about shorting up here. I mean, it's still there. Now what? I would really love to see a pop. I just don't want to short the continuation. If the market's going to go higher near term, I don't want to short stuff. Now, if it goes lower during it, pretty crappy. It means it's probably going to go lower. The market goes lower too. Sedge holding high and low and tight. Don't really have anything on it. ENPH. Everybody. Every time I post something, someone's always like, "You're an idiot. They're the best stock in the world." Okay. Well, yeah. Whatever you say. I mean, it is what it is. Oh man, I can see my viewership dropping with my screens freezing. Oh well. Here you go, holding the high volume low, chopping. Again, market goes higher, the stuff will follow. Tan your hide. And again, I apologize for the slow stuff. Holding the lows. Can't really get bearish. All right, let's talk about oil. Because this is, how we talk about, the Livermore stories like, oh, if I sold my wheat to fund my cotton trade, and when I had a profit in wheat and then I added to cotton, it showed me more of a loss and I was an idiot. Like that trade. Like that's the oil and gas trade right now. Talked about oil bought USO around 68. Here you go. This is what I expect. Somewhere up, I think you can get up at worst to 79 to 675. Sounds like a lot. Yes. Someone's like, oh, my puts and calls are green and they're going into Tesla earning. Yes, because the IV increases. All options get more expensive, especially if they're at the money. Even out of the money sometimes too will do that pretty dramatically. Just depends on how the IV spikes into the close. Because again, more people that buy options, the more the market makers charge for them. Remember that. Yeah, so holding. SPR, good luck. Nat gas, as we've said, I mean, that's the cotton trade that you shouldn't have stayed in. You could have pivoted. But however, as we talked about, nat gas is coming into levels where I think you're going to see some interesting action. And if it doesn't, oh my God. And it equates down into like the 18 range. Here, I'll show you the chart just for fun. Oops. Oopsies. Henry Hub natural gas futures. No. Let's just go with these. Yeah, it's going to be UNG around 18. Got it? I don't think I would play it until then. I mean, again, if you really got to get excited about it, I mean, you're in the zone, which we showed. It just, I don't want to be early because I think there's been better stuff. Sorry to say that. ExxonMobil, nice upgrade today. I've said this thing is going higher. Word is bond. Nice close on the SPY, closing up near the highs. Not bearish, right? I am already going to be early. Yeah, I heard you sold some puts. Well, we'll see. Please explain the difference between high versus low volume on highs and lows. Let me do that here in a second. Let me get through the oil names. I'll do that, Smiley. Looks pretty solid to me. Again, you want to trade the leaders or you want to fart around in tech? It's kind of your guess. Occidental. It's not accidental that good old Uncle Buffett is selling. I was thinking like Uncle Joe. Uncle Buffett's selling calls every time at the highs. The put call ratios gets like 0.2, and then it drops. If it gets over 70, I mean it's gonna go. EQT. Hey, look at that, high of the day. Closing at the high of the day. People were whining about it at 40 and change this morning. Yeah, look at that. It did not make a lower low, held the point of control. I'm telling you, it's got added to the mid-cap names. Growing boy, you. EQT, looking good. At this point, keep an eye on it. I personally think at worst it can get back up to a 47, maybe even up back at the highs. We'll see. Again, I reiterate, for the Feds to aggressively raise rates to put the market into the epic tailspin that we all are hoping for, to make a bear market end quicker, we need oil and gas to rise. Fed policy is not going to stop the undersupply of the market. We know that. All right. I'm going to stop the recording. I appreciate friends out there, family, generous donations, the lack of donations. I don't care either. I mean, you pick and choose how you feel like you want to donate. And again, it's all for education. It's all for education. So, yeah, I'll stay on the Tesla chart. And I appreciate it. I mean, I saw some people making 50, 60, 70 grand on some of their trades. Awesome. Love to hear it. Love to hear it. Never jelly. All right, let's go into stop the recording process. And let's go into the Tesla, into the close. Let's get the 10, because of course we need to see like the actual 10 minute on this thing. Short squeezing. Yeah. I mean, again, think about why there would be a short squeeze into the close. I mean, it's down a ton. I mean, if you had remember, I told you I closed out my shorts on Tesla last week. I'm like, I just don't feel like the risk is worth the reward at this point. Like, I really don't want to play this game. Here's briefing.com. I probably should not be showing this. It says market pricing. It says Fed could opt to pull some. Okay, well, yeah. Okay, here you go. The market reacted positively on this in the close. Interesting. Let's wait for Tesla's numbers. We'll stick around. Let's talk about it. Please explain the difference between high versus low volume on highs and lows. Great question. The thing about high volume highs and lows, Smiley, is they become tractor beams. They're usually where the dark pool money is. They're where the decisions are made in the market for that particular stock. Because if somebody loves something, and I mean like an actual, like, maybe you can see it. Let me get this back out of here because I don't want it to pop up. I can watch another screen. What was one of them? I think it was Netflix. Where are you, my friend? Give me 2 seconds. I apologize. I'm like trying to scan through 1,000 things. Like, hey-ho. You see this high volume high, high volume low? You see that, Smiley? Notice how this area has been a tractor beam. Like, they love to retest. Couldn't get over it. Couldn't get over it. Couldn't get over it. Couldn't get over it. Now you trap and go over it. These areas act as what? The volume at price point of controls. Does this make sense? Now under low volume, notice you couldn't like break out over it. Now you could, but that's a little harder. That's with obviously some volume due to earnings. I apologize. I'm trying to like watch stuff in the background as we talk, because at any point Tesla is going to drop either the bomb or the rocket on us. Trying to think of another good name that has in my mind high volume high, high volume low. I mean, probably somewhere on the Tesla chart. Let's look at that. Whatever this day in May, high volume. Notice how that low has been the low. Notice how every time we approached it, the volume didn't really increase. So what happens? The action had to back off. This is the thing about volume that I always tell people. Like, it doesn't always matter unless you're at inflection points or you're just watching a trend and you're noticing it die off. Because the higher something runs and the volume dies, you got to be a little careful. But then sometimes what you get is after you get these, you get like the spike off, like the blow off top, right? On huge volume, right? Notice how this candle here, this area, it all became what? Resistance. Couldn't get over it, right? Couldn't get over it. Well, now you have a similar thing down here where you have this candle being, to me, one of the major points of control, but you also can see like volume at price. This is the thing. If you're studying volume and you don't have volume at price, you're missing out on part of the picture. Like this area is extremely powerful, right? Like we would argue that this area has to hold. But when it breaks, it's probably going to break on high volume. Because think about it, like it will confirm on high volume, because what's going to happen, right? Everybody and their mom who bought up here turns into sellers. That's when you know it's game over. It won't be like high volume by high volume and stopping power. It's going to be high volume, break the dam, break it out, down. And that's where sometimes this is what gets so difficult, is the timing of things. Like it's just a matter of time before I think this happens. Because everybody who bought up here is going to be like wearing egg on their face. Do we not agree? It's just the timing of it. Tesla is flying. Not surprised. Not surprised. I don't see the actual numbers yet. I'll read them out to y'all when I get them. Pull up the 10 minutes. But this is why trading is so hard, in the sense that like the timing of it. The absolute timing of things. And that's why I talk about it as a bear. Like I don't mind it sucking more people in. Does that make sense? Like you want to suck more people in to make the move bigger when it drops. It's the same thing with like literally the SPY and the Qs holding the May, June, July lows, whatever name it is. Holding those lows and bringing in more bulls does what? When it breaks, means the move is going to be bigger. Is that very clear? Does that make sense, Smiley? Everybody listening, like the more people you draw in at a price point and then it fails, the bigger the move. Hope that's clear as again, crystal clear Pepsi. Wasn't that Crystal Pepsi or something? Oh, I didn't drink any of that. I don't drink sodas. Yeah, Tesla's all over the place here. Let's just watch it for a second. Again, I don't have the numbers. Clear as mud. Yeah, no, exactly. Like the more people you draw in at a price and it fails or breaks out, the bigger the move. It's the same thing with Netflix. Like once it got over 250, it was screaming higher. Man, look at Tesla all over the place. Yeah, again, I don't think... you might say you want Tesla Q now, but we'll see what happens here. Keep in mind, this thing has been absolutely smoked. And also keep in mind, I think you're in the Discord room. I said, like, when he came out and he posted the comments, like, I will take care of you no matter what, it probably meant they had a buyback potential. Like, everyone was screaming for the buyback, and he's just going to be like, no buyback. Tesla preliminary 105 versus 108, estimated revenue 21.45 billion versus 21.9. So they slight misses at this point. Are we surprised? I don't know. Now this is why trading, and you should honestly always get out of get away from earnings, like trying to predict them, is that, again, you might know the numbers. I have known the number. I literally would have inside knowledge on companies' numbers. And guess what? They come out and the stock would do the absolute opposite thing. So that's the point. So what we might see right here with Tesla now, again, I don't know for sure. Let me see what their guidance is. For some reason, it's not popping up as quick as I was hoping. I mean, again, the narrative is someone's going to try to create a narrative like, why is Tesla down? Well, they missed numbers. I mean, I don't know. Is that really a surprise? I don't think so. But here it was, what's their guidance? Anyone see their guidance? I haven't seen it yet. Let me see if it's popping up on Twitter. Any Twitter guidance? I mean, I imagine it has to do with buybacks. All right, still sees 50% average growth in vehicles. No, I'm not seeing anything. Tesla reiterates expectations to achieve 50% average annual growth in deliveries over the multi-year horizon. Okay, well, that's, again, trying to pump. And of course, they're not going to say anything bad. We all know that. And again, I'm not going to stick around for this, but wait for the conference call. This is one of the things that's real tricky about earnings sometimes, is you get... Interesting. Trying to fill that gap. I mean, as soon as I said it, was just thinking, I was like, man, I should just buy the stock here if I can get it at 206, and then it didn't go any lower. I was like, looking, you see this price at 205? I think if you can see the stock at 205 after hours, we talk about the first mouse gets the trap, second gets the cheese. Well, that might be the cheese right there. Damn it. I don't think that's going to happen. Who knows? That was the trade, I think. That's why I was talking about waiting for earnings, because if you wanted to, you could buy the stock. And this is what literally before I could even finish my thought, I'm like, I'd wait to see what they say in the conference call. Well, already popped almost 10 points. But do you guys see, like, this is where I was like, be careful saying you really want a Tesla Q, because this thing could just, as it's doing, whip right back. We have to remember, right? Like, hey, James, you've read Livermore, right? Can I get a yes or no on that real quick? Have you read the Livermore book? Reminiscence of a Stock Operator. You familiar? Familiar? Are we familiar with Reminiscence of a Stock Operator? No? Oh my God. Give me 2 seconds. Do me a favor. Since you come and hang out here on these live chats. Do me an absolute favor. I'm going to drop a book, an audio book. Don't buy the book. Buy the audio book. Where is this sucker? Other chats, learning. I gotta go into my own Discord room. Apologize. Give me 2 seconds. Education. Give me 2 seconds. Let me find the books. Recommended reading. This is the best audiobook. I mean, I listen to this book constantly because it's 10 hours but it flies by. It's not like super boring. It's actually very interesting because it talks about like how literally the markets work. What was my point? How the operators work. If you were short Tesla, you need liquidity to cover into, right? If you and I had 10 million shares, say we're freaking Bill Gates, and we got a couple million shares short of Tesla. Say we're operators, whatever. I mean, just change the name. You need liquidity to cover into, right? Because shorting can only go so far lower, but you also have to be on red alert for what? Squeezes, right? Because the market doesn't always go down in a straight line. If you and I want to take profit, are we going to do it on news where the stock drops, potentially? Is that going to create the best liquidity cover to do what we're going to do without the market knowing? Because if you and I try to cover a couple million shares short in a illiquid market, what's going to happen? Like, what would happen? Yeah, you got to read this book, man. I mean, it's from the 1900s, and it's still so relevant. Because the game hasn't changed. It's the players. Just the names have. If you and I have a ton of stock short that we're up 50% on, and we're like, you know what, we know it's going to go lower, but we also know it can't go continue lower now, always. Well, operators need volume. Do you guys remember like how again, people, if you're around, you're still listening, I'm assuming you have. I talked about Jamie Dimon bottom. Remember I called it the Jamie Dimon bottom because the market literally peaked as he goes, oh, the market's going to drop another 20%. What do you think people were doing into that liquidity? Were they selling more? No, they're using that news headline to do what? As a cover up to cover their shorts. Does this make sense? Like, that's what you need is liquidity. The market makers, they care about obviously the price action, but they always need liquidity. If you are a big player, you and I are a whale, you and I are an institution with large holdings. Again, as much as we want to say the stock's going to 200, 210, 170, 130, whatever, we always have to be on red alert for liquidity because that's our exit points. We have to use the liquidity to our advantage because if we try to say we get stuck shorting in a rising squeeze, first of all, then we don't have any bullets to reshort, right? And then number two, what? You're going to cover the stock against you aggressively and unintentionally because everyone else is going to know you're covering. Like once the price action starts rising, people start going, well, what's going on? And again, this is literally what Livermore talked about. Like his action would create news. His operations would create news. And he would do the opposite once it became obvious. He would say, oh, everyone say Livermore is shorting the market. As soon as that became a headline, he would cover his shorts every time. Because he knew people were like, oh, Livermore's shorting, he's always right, supposedly. Just like Buffett. Oh, Buffett's buying. Occidental Petroleum has to go higher. Do you guys remember me talking about Occidental? I'm like, I don't think it's going higher. Every time that popped up, what happened? Talked about him selling covered calls. This is how operators move. It's a liquidity game to them. It's not about always the price points. They have to make moves. They are like big elephants wandering around in a small jungle. And guess what? When everyone freaks out, they have to make moves to not get to what? To get out of their positions, to add to their positions. Man, I hope this helps. Because again, I mean, if this isn't worth the time talking about it, then I don't know what to tell you. Like, this is something that you have to start thinking like the operators. That's why when everyone's like, how do you know the market is bottomed? Let's go look at the SPY. SPY, remember, we talk about bear traps. Bear traps. Bear freaking traps. Yes, do you not remember Jamie Bot? Yes, you remember that. Like when Jamie Dimon is saying 20% lower and the market shortly followed going higher, you knew it was a trap. Here you go, like, oh, the world's ending. That 20% is coming, right? Then look what happens. Look at the volume. What do you think operators were doing? What do you think operators were doing? They're covering their stock shorts. I mean, people are struggling to, I mean, dude, this volatility is hard in general. When the VIX stays in the 30s, it's never easy. So don't beat yourself up about it. Like, if you're making mistakes here, just, again, I've said this a billion times, leverage down. And I'm leveraging up as I think it's going higher because I think now the bottom is in. Again, we talked about this game of a lower high or lower low and then rally back. Talked about this squeeze play that could potentially happen. Now, again, I anticipate 390, but I'm not going to hold all the way to 390. Does this make sense, y'all? I'm trying to, like, again, if there's only 5 people here, that's fine. People who want to learn need to hear this stuff. And you got to hear it over and over and over and over again until it makes sense. Like, stop thinking about what you and I want and think about how the operators move within the markets. Because they're the ones who control the market. Our trades don't do anything. They don't affect, they're farts in the wind. I say that all the time. Farts in a hurricane. And so if you can understand how the market makers move, then again, we're probability based. No one in this room can with certainty predict everything all the time. At some point, people believe that I literally could predict everything correctly all the time because I was at certain points. And I tell us, like, you go in spurts where the probabilities are, if you're playing trades with the probabilities in your favor, then yes, you will go on like what seems like endless winning streaks. But then when the probabilities go against you, guess what? Sometimes you're gonna feel like you can't win. I wouldn't even say that. You get more to like 50-50. You feel mortal, but here's the difference in the mindset that you have to get to. No matter how good at trading you get. You have to be willing to pivot, and you have to be willing to admit when you're wrong. Again, like UNG, TLT. I mean, I can tell you about all the losses. Nat Gas. Sorry, wrong. We'll come back. TLT, thought it was bottoming in the low 100s. No. Thought the market. I mean, I think a lot of people don't realize how, how wrong I can be. You can be. We think this is the bottom. We think this is a retest. Look what they did. Blew it out, then it went higher. I knew a spike was coming because we stretched too far. We talked about that. But you just don't know when. You don't know where and how much. That's what's so hard. And so this is the thing. If you're playing the game as like a certainty thing, I'm just telling you right now. I am telling you right now, all it takes is one trade. One thing that you are so certain of to happen, be wrong, put you back in a hole. And that's not the goal here. It's to just sometimes go, all right, well, it looked right. And this is the thing. If you can honestly go back, and here's, I'll show you like why I don't really beat myself up about Nat Gas, right? Like, can we not agree? This looked like the floor, right? It wasn't like we were buying it up here. Here's the floor, and it failed. Oops, it happens sometimes. The TLT. Oops. You're holding the channel low. We're talking about like extending down into the hundreds. It's been dropping. You could see the volume. It got stopped out. It popped back and was like, all right, well, I'll leave it alone. I need to see it get over, I said, what, the 20-day minimum? Because it's had a struggle. We talked about struggled with the 20-day for a long period of time. And once it got over it, sometimes it couldn't even sustain over it. Well, guess what? It never got to the 20-day. So once I took what I thought was the extreme and gone, it's gone. It just happens like that, y'all. You have to like have this mindset of whether you love Tom Brady or not, I don't care. I love the way he thinks. You make a mistake, you try to remedy it, you don't make it again, but you do not focus on them like they are the end of the world. Because everybody misses a pass, everybody throws an interception, everybody loses games. It's the people who bounce back resiliently. And again, if you can't sleep at night and things are hard, then leverage down. If you're in a hole and lost, I have losses. Again, trying to make higher highs, higher lows in my accounts. I don't believe the next trade always is going to be the one. Like, you have to get out of that mindset. Like, it has to be the better setups. Well, honestly, don't we all agree the better setup is a monster short? But do you want to short the lows? I don't. I want to rally. I want more than 375. Get me up to 390. I feel way better about shorting. All right, I'm going to wrap this up. I hope this helps. Again, appreciate the love, support, donations. If you feel like this is something that you want to learn more about and you want to get in the Discord room, the link is available. Just let me know. I personally don't really care how many people listen to this stuff because it's good for me to say it to myself. If you don't think that spending 20, 30 minutes a day reviewing what is important in trading, even if it's just talking to yourself, you're going to miss, you get unfocused. Like, think about a professional athlete. At some point during every day of his regiment, he's either lifting weights, mentally, visually practicing, actually practicing, or doing something related to the sport to prepare him for the game. Our game is every day at the same time every day, or every weekday for the most part. You guys get it. Like, talking about this every day, just a little bit to remind myself, because again, it's very easy to get bearish on this first pop. It was very easy when to say, all right, this is going lower. We talked about being the first drop was going to get bought. It did. Now we pull back to the 20-day. I was like, once we get over the 20-day, that's going to be bullish. Well, here we go. 2 days in a row, it tests the 20-day. Get bearish, capitulate, whatever. If you got to close your positions, let the 20-day break and close below it. I know it's hard to watch it live and then go, we got to go in now. I'm telling you, no. OPEX is CHOPEX. They want to get the VIX down. You're going into earnings with expectations in the dumpers. You have the Feds priced in. Whatever they're going to do in November, it is there. It is priced in. Yes. Layer in, layer out, manage your trade. Yes. Do not get greedy. Get greedy at the lows. In the extremes, I say that. Get greedy at the highs. Well, now that you're in between swing points, like it's only, I've told you, like I'm adding 100 shares here, 1 or 2 calls here. I'm not going huge on my ads here. A lot of y'all know I was buying this day. Like 358, got some on this day too. I mean, I was like, all right. And then it rallied back. It wasn't that hard. It was very obvious it was a bear trap. People are like, how do you know it's a bear trap? Again, watch the videos. I have a video on everything that I think is important in the market. Bear traps, OPEX, first last day of the month, all these things. Outside reversals. You guys know what an outside reversal is? I mean, take if this wasn't a bear trap, but if you saw this candle and it was red at the highs, you go, oh crap, that's bearish. Let me see if I can find one. Again, outside reversals are very powerful. You don't see them often. Technically, this would be an outside reversal. Open up, close below the prior day's low. Here's an outside reversal that's red, which is interesting, to a green. That's man, you guys have got to realize how tricky sometimes the market can be. Here's an outside reversal with green. Again, you open below, you come back into it pretty strong. Now, again, it's when they engulf the whole day prior. Look at that day. I remember that day. Mind-boggling. Trying to find some more major reversals that are outside that engulf. Because they're very, again, I mean, here you go. Technically, that's an outside and it retested. Even if it wasn't the first bottom, it was the bottoming process. Man, yeah, they're few and far between. And at highs, when you see them, OMG. Because they usually show you that you've gone to the top. And there's no going back. That's not really a full one. Sometimes, this is sometimes the thing too. If you can like look beyond one day's candle and you put them together. Like this candle here and these two. If you looked at these as a combined whole, you go, that is a new high engulfing all of this. That's bearish. So, all right. I could talk forever about this stuff because to me it's very important that I talk about this, whether you're listening or not. It's good for me because my brain loves to hear it. Again, it's like hanging out. And I'll end with this. You know, they say you're the combination of the 5 people you hang out with the most. Like your incomes will be the same, your mindsets will be the same, your health will all be the same. If you realize that you are listening to people who are good for you, then you start tuning out the bull crap. Because I'm telling you right now, the people who sit around reading the news, if you're in here listening, unreal how much you pay attention to news, and it doesn't matter. People who hang out and read think all the crap on Twitter and stock twits, that is what your brain is interpreting all day. If you feel fearful, you feel excited, you feel emotions from reading others' comments and the news, you are a target. You should be looking at the charts. That's the evidence. I don't give a crap what anyone says in the Discord room. And you shouldn't give a crap what I say. Look at the evidence. If the evidence says, yes, that looks correct. Is this an outside reversal candle? Yes. Is that bullish? Yes. Is it on above average volume? Yes. All right, well, then it should resolve higher. And it has. Now if it holds the 20-day, it's bullish. It's really that simple. We went below it again today. And think about traps. It's kind of, if you're a bear, you got to be pissed off because you couldn't close below it. All right, I'll let y'all roll. Be safe. Reach out if you have any questions. You know I'm always here for you. And again, the student is ready, the teacher appears. That always happened for me in my life when I really wanted to take my understanding. Because again, I started off as a broker, started off in finance, and was like, how come nobody knows what the hell is going on? Oh, you can't time the market. The market's not predictable. Just buy the dips. Oh, don't worry about bear markets. Oh, okay. Nobody, again, it's an education process, and there's no book on this. Again, I'm trying to put a book together. Lupus, if you're listening, we got to continue. I was hoping you had some time to look over those notes and we could revise them together, but it's like 20 pages of stuff, y'all. This isn't easy. It's like learning another language. Like the market and the action talks to you, but do you listen? And again, sometimes it's not easy to interpret. I always joke about people who think they're always right. It's like, do you have a magic 8-ball? Is that what you're reading off of? The crystal ball? No. You can interpret it, but sometimes you're going to be wrong. All right. Peace out.